What's up, y'all?
Hey.
We are here on the Genius at Work podcast, so we have a little bit of a different format than what we've had previously in the past. Last few episodes, at least, have been about me either talking about how smart I am or how stressed I am.
Yeah, for sure.
And this one is
I've been in our house at like different location.
Yeah.
We're back in studio now.
Yeah, we've been in Marfa, and we've been shooting it from our house. But now we have a very special guest with us on this episode. We have Julia Dars. She is the 2018 Arnold Classic Bikini Champion. She is a life coach. She also wanted to be described as an immigrant. So she's immigrant, life coach, and bikini competition champion at the Arnold Classic. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. That's exciting.
Of course, yeah. We're actually really thrilled to have you. You're going to be, as we just discussed, the first guest that we have on the podcast that we are asking questions as opposed to asking us questions.
My honor.
But yeah, thank you for being here. I guess just to kind of like kick this off, I was going to say the reason we met earlier this year at a Jeffersonian dinner that was hosted for health and fitness entrepreneurs here in Austin. And I don't know, like you had like a cool story, and I was immediately like, she's an interesting person. So we grabbed a coffee about a week later or so. We met for coffee. I learned more about your story, and I was like, you got to meet my wife. I feel like you guys have so much in common, and here we are going to talk about how you are partnering for a big, cool new venture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, you came home from that dinner and you're like, I met someone there. She's really cool. You need to meet her because you have a lot in common. I'm like, perfect. I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah. And I think when we met, it was instant click. Like, oh, like when it feels like you already know the person. Like, yeah. So thank you. I'm super happy to have you guys in my life. It's amazing.
Likewise.
For sure.
So I guess like, I don't know if there's anything that you guys want to say, like to tease, and I think at this point this is going to come out in 2 weeks, and you'll have already talked quite a bit about the retreat and what you have planned, but I mean, I'll pass it off to y'all to see like if there's anything you want to say about what you have coming up or what you have planned.
I say let's end with it.
Okay.
Let's talk about
Fair
the
enough.
journey of Julia.
Yeah.
And like how she's in our life now.
Let's get into that then. The one thing that I wanted to make sure that we discussed, and again, I'm like interviewing somebody for the first time, so I'm being, this is like new to me, so bear with me as I figure this part out.
Yeah.
But I guess Julia has a really interesting story. She's done a lot. She's accomplished a lot. Like I said, like I'm a former bodybuilding champion, not nearly to the extent that you were a fitness competitive champion, nowhere near the Arnold Classic. But I think that's a really compelling story. Of course, coming to the United States from Belarus is a really like interesting and more unique story. And what you're doing now and the kind of impact you've had on Katelyn over the last several months with your coaching is also like pretty awesome. So would just love to hear a little bit about like your background, where you're from, and maybe a little bit about like what you do.
Sure. Yeah. So I was born in Belarus. For those who don't know where Belarus is, because usually people like, where is it? Like, all right, so it's next to.
I don't know where. I don't exactly know where it is.
Yeah, he says it's so common. He's like, she's from Belarus. Like, I'm like, do you know where that is?
I'm like, I know it's like Eastern European. It's
Yes,
pretty much
it is.
all
Yes,
I know.
it's basically a border with Russia, Ukraine, Poland. So we're kind of like in the middle right there.
I didn't know if it actually like was Russia or not.
I used to be part of USSR.
Soviet.
Yes.
Okay.
So yes, and then when they broke up, I think Belarus was created in 1994, like officially. So we're quite young. Like Belarus is quite young. I was born there. Then I lived a little bit in Russia till like 3rd grade. My parents were working there, so we kind of were traveling back and forth. And I don't know, have you seen the movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, there was a series on Netflix?
The documentary.
Yeah. So he said, like, I always knew I was kind of born in the wrong country, or like U.S. is my country.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
Okay.
I was like, when I was watching it, I'm like, that's my line right there.
Arnold synchronicity right from the.
I know, right? It's meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was. It's funny. I was watching movies and cartoons. Like I really. I guess that was my dream, but I also knew that this is my country. Like I'm gonna be there. There was no plan B or C or D or V, whatever. And then the realization hit me when I saw it was some sort of a movie also, but then I'm like, I don't understand. Is that different language? Because our movies, they were basically translated right away, so it was like a voiceover. And my mom's like, yeah, they speak English, and I'm like, oh, that's a bummer. I'm like, oh my God, we don't speak the same language, because I was convinced.
So you were concerned, I guess you were concerned that you had to now learn English as a result if you wanted to move to the United States?
I think more of a like, so people on like in the world, they speak different languages.
Okay.
How old
like,
were you?
I think like 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah. I was very little. Yeah. Yeah. And basically, I was involved in dancing from probably age 3, I think. So that was my passion. I was like on the stage. I was singing in my, brush, and I'm like performing stuff. My mom's like, all right, go. So my mom was.
And you still dance?
Yes, I still dance. Yeah. Now it's more of a for myself,
Yeah.
just to kind of keep that passion going. But my parents were very open to kind of explore all the, I guess, things that I wanted to explore. So my mom asked me, what do you want to do? I'm like, I want to go dance. So she gave me to like a small little group in kindergarten, and that's where my dancing career started. I was always some sort of a performer. We were doing a lot of like fairy tales, and I was either a person who tells the fairy tale. So I was basically public speaking from the very age. And that was my passion.
Cool.
Started with sports when I moved to Belarus, because that 3rd grade. Also started a new language there, which is Belarusian, and completely different from Russian.
Okay.
Yeah, and my mom didn't know that I could have just opted out of it. She didn't know. So I'm in 3rd grade. They already had 2 years ahead of me, and I remember sitting there, and they're giving me this book. And the teacher she didn't know that I don't know the language. And she's like, read it. And I'm like, whoa, like that's something interesting. And I read it, actually pretty cool. So after a year, my mom found out that I could have just, said no and just continue with Russian.
Okay.
But I guess that worked out very well.
So what is Belarusian then?
So we have different alphabet. Like
Okay.
it's similar. If I speak with like Russian, they would understand me, but not all of it. Because like some words, also Belarusian right now, Belarusian language is kind of like transforming, as any language. So it becoming more like a Russian.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we do have like kids learn this in school, obviously, just to keep the tradition.
Sure.
But nobody speaks Belarusian.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess, is it an older language, or is it a newer language?
I think it's good question. I think it's a language that evolved from like ancient like Slavic.
Okay.
Yeah. So like so pretty much it's very close to Ukrainian language. It's very close to not so much to Poland, but yeah, Ukrainian is very close to Belarusian.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
but Russian is completely different.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was kind of like doing my thing and dancing, and then I started playing handball professionally. They recruited me.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, European handball. I
Wow.
know. Yeah. So that also kind of was my passion.
So you're just like an all-around athlete.
Yeah,
basically,
yeah.
you know?
And it's funny in Belarusian school, like let's say if you play handball, like then you play basketball, then you also play something else, because like you play for the school, like the tournaments that are going on in like entire town. So I pretty much played all sports. Yeah, when I was growing up. Yeah, that was cool. I had I started teaching dancing probably like at age like 14. So I had little kids,
Cool.
3
Oh,
years
wow.
old, 2 years old. So
Uh-huh.
they're just little babies.
And what kind of dance was it at that point? Because I know
So
now,
we start-
I'll just say on Instagram, I see a lot of like hip hop style dancing.
I think it's less hip hop, more like heel dancing right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Hip hop was just something that I always wanted to learn, but never got a chance, because like in Belarus we didn't have great hip hop school,
Okay.
So I started this when I moved to LA. But in the beginning, it was mostly like a performance style dancing,
Okay.
the dancing that you would see with a big group, synchronicity from the stage. Like that's kind of, it's more of a modern. But we learned the basic is basically classic. So we learned classic, all the positions, hands, And then it's funny that at one point when I was kind of like progressing and we're moving into like different dancing competition, my teacher said you have to choose handball or dancing. And I said, why? She's like, because your wrist is awful. When you do
Really?
because like it has to be really smooth
And like flowy kind
yes,
of.
yes. And handball, it's a sport, so
More
you
aggressive.
you develop
Yeah.
more. And it
So
was
you need
tough.
like soft hands with dancing.
Yeah, and also you develop a
So-
specific type of the body.
And your teacher is immediately putting limiting beliefs in your head.
Yes, right, right.
Exactly, right?
that
Yeah.
You can't have to
Yeah,
choose one or the
yeah.
other.
You know what's funny that you mentioned this? I actually started competing because of my handball trainer, because she said, so we didn't know what nutritional food
Sure,
is. Like,
of course.
we were eating a lot of
We didn't
Stuff.
either.
Gosh,
I
no,
don't think
yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
specific to
Yeah,
Belarus.
so, like,
I was
whatever you
eating, like,
eat.
fruit roll-ups.
I know, right? Yeah, we were eating a lot of mayo, like salads, So I
Mayo
was
salads?
salads with mayo, yeah. But you can tell, yeah.
I mean potato
It's
salad,
basically
yeah.
that.
But
macaroni
yeah, it is a
salad.
potato salad, but it's a little bit different though. But it's called Russian salad. So everything was with mayo and stuff. So I was quite fluffy, and I always wanted to kind of. And when people see my pictures, they're like, "Oh no, you were fine." I'm like, "No, in my eyes, I weren't." And
I can't imagine
I know.
that you were like that.
yeah,
Overweight.
oh
There's
yeah,
no way.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, and my handball trainer, she said, "Oh, you're never gonna be fit because your parents, they not like small people," and that was really like
Man,
hurtful.
your coaches
yeah.
are just giving it to
Oh
you.
my god! If I tell you like what we were doing during like training on handball, like you're gonna be like, oh my god, that's a prison.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very tough. So that's why I started competing pretty much one of the reasons, because I'm like, I'm going to show her that I can be really, very fit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It can help in, some
And
situations
motivation.
in life. Yeah.
Did you start competing in fitness competitions before you moved to the United States?
No. Yeah. So like in pretty much like, this is funny. I just recently remember the story with my friend. I wanted to actually become a choreographer or a translator. So we sitting at home, me, my dad, my mom, and my aunt. It was like a round circle, and we were deciding my destiny. They're like, so I'm like, I want to be either this or this. And my dad goes, no, you're not moving to a capital of Belarus, because we were like 3 hours away.
Okay.
You're not moving there because obviously you have to pay for it, and probably just they didn't want to let me, go somewhere else. And so they said no translator, no to choreographer. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'm just going to go do whatever just for you. And I'm going to go to United States. That was my final decision when, because I was already like, how old? I was young for my age to finish up the school. So it was like 17,
Okay.
I guess. And I was, I already have all my entire life. I have my, dancing performance show. I have my kids. Like, I'm making money there. Like, I have my business there. Like, everything is going on very great. I have all my friends, my parents there, And when they said it, I'm like, all right, it's done. Like, this is my decision. I'm definitely moving to the United States. And I started working towards it. So I just went to college, university. It's called university. It was economist manager major. So I'm like, I'm just gonna go finish that up and just move. And that's what happened.
All right.
So you were how old when you moved to the States?
20.
Wow. By
Yeah.
yourself?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And what does that process look like?
Yeah.
What were some of the things that when you're making that decision you have to prepare for or figure out? And then I guess I still don't know if you are a U.S. citizen or
No.
So what is that? I have no idea what that
It was.
looks like,
It
just
was.
to start the process.
I remember. I was crying when I was really thinking about it because it was very tough. But then, for some reason, at one point, I was like, I don't think I can see any future here. My ambitions were way higher than Belarus could have offered me, And it's not a cliche, but it is kind of very close to it that people drink, because of because of the beautiful life, but obviously because of certain limitations within the country. And I'm like, yeah, probably gonna end up right there. And I even remember even earlier when I saw my parents working like 9 to 5 or things like that. I was like, oh my God, how can you do it? It's so boring. Like, why are you working like same job? My mom was kind of like entrepreneurial spirit. She was doing this and like hustling on the side. But I was terrified by just the future I could imagine if I stay. And I'm like, nah. Yeah. That unknown that was here was way more like appealing for me than staying there. Even with all security, even with all, you live with your parents. If something there, you speak native language. Yep. You have like great major, like economist manager. You can work anywhere pretty much. You can move to to Russia, for instance, right? So possibilities are endless. But for some reason, I think my mentality was different from the very beginning when I was born.
Yeah, I mean, I think we probably relate to some extent where we are from the Northeast. We're from New Jersey, and there was a couple times after college and when law school was wrapping up and we were in Pennsylvania where we were we could do the easy, safe thing and go back to the Butler of New Jersey or Point Pleasant was where we were from specifically in New Jersey. And that seems it's what's going to kind of come of it. You have the support system there. You have it's familiar and it's comfortable.
Yeah, that safety net.
The safety net. And you don't know what exactly it's going to come to, but you have at least a general picture of what could become of it versus taking the all-out risk where you have no idea really, but you just know that there's growth opportunities and it's a lot scarier, but you take the plunge. And it's kind of I guess you kind of think about traveling across the globe as being somehow wildly different than just traveling across the country, but it's very similar.
Oh,
the same way
yeah,
you do it for the same
for
reasons,
sure.
right?
I mean, I have a lot of friends from New York, and even though they're kind of struggling there, they're not really happy with what they have, but they still not moving. I'm like, you're not a tree, you can move. You have everything, all the resources, all the knowledge. The 30 years of your experience within that company just gives you the green light everywhere. And people still.
And they have somebody like you that they can reach out to who has made that decision and ask you for.
Yeah, but somehow
help.
People think I'm different. Somehow my friends think that I'm some sort of a alien, and oh no, you have this courage. I'm like, yeah, and at the same time I have fears. I also have doubts. I also have my downsides where I'm sitting and crying and okay, I literally cannot figure this out. But I also know it's just a wave, But
it's all based everybody has the same fears, but it's based on the decisions you make regardless of the fear that you're having. And so maybe that does make you different, but not, it's only a matter of the decisions you're making, not because of a capacity that you have that other people are incapable of.
Yeah, everyone has the ability. It's just if you're going to access it.
I think that's why I became a coach, because I'm infinitely believe in people.
Yeah.
We're not even doing, 0.5% of what we could actually accomplish. And I'm and that's when I'm with a client, my role is to show them and kind of maybe, give them my belief at first, so they're oh, wait a second, she's saying this. And then they figure anything out and okay, yes, I believe in it. I believe in it too. So we all are so capable of everything.
Definitely.
I gotta say that probably with age, if we also have a lot of negative experience that can just create that loop, but it's also just created. It's also in our head that we can change that.
Absolutely.
At any point. And don't I just keep looking over here because I got to make sure that we're all in camera and that the audio is working. And I have to check on the time. So if I keep looking over there, it's just me producing the show.
Okay.
So. You hear stories of people moving to the United States and they have this vision of what the United States is and the potential that it holds.
American dream.
What was your first day here? What'd you do the first day?
So that's a good question. Let's do what was your picture? What was the American dream? What did it look like for you? Were the roads paved in gold and that kind of thing? And then once you got here, what was that first day like? And then what was how did your like opinion of the United
I
States
just remember.
evolve?
I'm gonna give you a great picture.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, because so when we landed, we at the airport in JFK. So the person that's supposed to pick us up didn't show up. So we didn't like we basically going to live with someone we never met. We just like connected with each other through it's a Russian like Facebook, but it's a Russian version. Me and my friends.
Okay.
Yes. So that's the way I said.
Yeah, I was like,
yes.
wait, hold on.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So we just met when we were in the embassy. So we just met, and she's like, I actually wanted to move to Los Angeles. That was my big dream because I wanted to become an actress,
Yes.
dancing.
Yeah.
She wanted to move to New York, and I'm like, well, New York is also a great opportunity for this. And kind of okay, let's go. Like I have that flexible kind of understanding of it. So we landed. Nobody's meeting us. And then, people who, it's basically J1 visa, they like, do you guys have like transportation? And we're like, no. To back it up a little bit, I didn't have any expectations of like, oh, I'm gonna, land and this is the tree with money and like, no. I think my main reason why I moved is freedom. That's what I wanted to have.
Okay.
I wanted to have freedom to make any choice and obviously and be able to try things that I probably knew that I couldn't try this in Belarus.
Like so much opportunity.
Yeah.
Like the things, yeah.
Can you give me an example of
Yeah.
like something you wanted to try that you didn't think you would have that opportunity to try?
Yeah,
in
like
Belarus?
I knew that I want to have my own business. And looking at the regulation back then, it's just like, it was crazy. It was it's very difficult to open it up, first of all. Like you have to spend months like gathering one paper, going to another another window, and that's like, just the process. And on top of it, there are a lot of regulations of what you can do. Like personal training wasn't even existing back then. Like, come on, forget about it, So I'm like, I also acting, also dancing. Obviously, like I'm like, oh, I'm in New York. I'm almost got into film academy, but then they're like, it's 40,000. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe not today. So and basically my first night, they picked us up and we have like we knew at least we knew where we're going and the address.
Okay.
So we started like dropping off people, and the first stop was in Chinatown in Manhattan.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
And when they opened up this door, I was like,
You're like, I'm in the wrong country.
For sure. You're like, oh my God, where are we?
the smell was
yeah.
insane. I'm like, this is how Manhattan smells, because I didn't know Chinatown.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know. Like I had it like,
course.
this is Manhattan. That's it. Like this is just a whole like France. You see like those kind of type of movies, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, great. So then we went to Queens and then all the way back to Brooklyn. We also ended up in like I guess I would say it's Chinese area there.
Okay.
So we're standing there at night. Nobody's meeting us, and I'm like, okay, great. Well, we have like all our bags together, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm gonna sleep right here because I was so pumped.
Wow.
Oh
I was
my
like, I'm
gosh.
here because even the process of getting visa, probably 90-something+% of rejection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because it's it's the way it is. And I was one of, I think, we had 20 people. We got 3 or 4 visas.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but we also had like a very small group. Anyway, so we're there. This person comes back. They took us to the apartment. We were sitting and they started just like bombarding us with all the information, what we should do, what we should not do. And I'm sitting there and I'm like looking at the windows and I'm like, the humongous cockroach, like the one that I didn't know like they exist. Because in Russia we have the small ones, like the one that you can. And that I'm
And then
like,
you got to Texas, and they're even bigger here.
yeah. Oh my God, I haven't seen actually any cockroach here, and I'm like, what is this? I'm afraid of that thing, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna sleep. He's gonna get into my ear, and so I'm like, all right, whatever, America, I'm here. This is
gosh.
not important. And funny enough, I tried to kill it, and it was unkillable. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, it still moves. I guess I just let him go. So in the morning, I think we had, I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people in one apartment. We were sleeping on the second floor. On the couch. So people were going to work, college, and they were actually stepping over us because we were right in the middle of their, road. And I'm like, this is America. And we had the windows closed, and I'm opening up the windows, like reality versus expectations
Yeah.
kind of meme.
Yeah.
And I'm opening up the window, and I'm like, oh my God. Trash and a lot of rats.
Oh.
And I'm like,
Is it in Brooklyn?
yeah. And I'm like, well, okay.
But I'm in America.
Yeah, I'm in America. Okay, whatever. So,
American dream.
but I knew that we're not gonna stay there for
Yeah,
long because
yeah,
I've heard their stories, and for some reason because I wasn't going to be a Russian or like Belarusian who moved to America and stayed in Russia. And that's what most, not most, I don't want to generalize here, but like usually people stay within their own circle.
Yeah.
So people in that apartment, they were living together for years. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, I know, I want my own apartment. I want my own place,
Yeah.
So we went actually straight to Brighton Beach because like, where are you going to find any type of, job? Because I knew English, but not like, I kind of had that kind of cultural shock.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh my God, what are they saying? Like, I don't understand.
Especially
My
up
brain,
there, they're
like,
talking
shut.
so fast.
Yeah.
It's like if you came down to the South first as your first like
Oh, wow.
state to move
Yeah.
to, like slower and a slower pace. But being up in New York City and like English your second language,
Yeah, and
That's
also
good.
we learned British language in school, So I remember ordering a water there. There was like a pizza place, and the reason why we stopped there because the guy, he looked exactly like Vin Diesel, and I'm like, that's awesome,
America.
Yeah, and I'm like, can I have a bottle of water? And he's like. And he's like laughing. I'm like, I'm saying something wrong. Oh my God. Like, he's not understanding me. He's like, say it again. So he started making fun of me. I didn't get that. I'm like, a bottle of water. And he's like,
A bowl of water.
oh, yeah. And he's like, you mean bottle of water? I'm like, oh my God, that's different English. Like that. I'm like, okay, no panic. So there was, I don't know if you know this store. It's called Mandy. No.
I feel like
It's like different types of like brands, not really like known.
I feel like up there we had Mandy's.
Mandy, yeah. It's like
Yeah,
I think yeah. So we went there, and when I went, like clothes, it's fine, and then I saw high heels, and my mom, she was very against high heels because it's kind of like messes up your posture and blah blah blah. So I bought almost every other like shoe that I
Now
saw.
That's the American dream.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So like I spent almost all my money on that. Some of them they were like new, and I just threw them away because like I never even tried them on.
Wow.
But that was it. Yeah. So and we started looking for a job, and you know what we heard, even from Russians, they're like, "Do you have experience?" And we're like, "Of course not." They're like, "Well, I'm sorry," and I'm like, "Well, that's why I'm here. I want to get an experience. I also can learn. It's not a rocket science to be a waitress or something.
Yeah.
That's how we learn how to lie." Then our CV became very experienced. Like next time we came with like, they're like, "Oh wow, you worked here, you worked there." We're like, "Yes, yeah, yeah."
I mean, it's funny because like you move to the United States and you're literally like sleeping in a room with a dozen other people. How many people?
7.
7 other
Well,
people.
7 in 2 of us, so 9 people.
Oh my gosh.
Like so, yeah, like a ton of people. You open your window to trash and rats. You're walking up to just the boardwalk or the beach just to like find a job and like
Yeah.
hope that they'll give you something. They're like, well, where's your experience? You're literally like starting from like the absolute bottom. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
don't have.
And the amount of no's we've heard,
Yeah, for
it
sure.
was at one point. I mean, I remember having like no job, and I'm like, okay, money is very tight right now. Like, and I cannot say to my mom, "Hey,
Yeah.
I don't have money," because
I just
she
spent
would
it
be
all on
like,
heels.
"Yes, yes, because of you, right?" because she would say, come back. You know, it was very fresh. I'm the only one
Oh, yeah,
child.
for sure.
So she would be like, come back and start,
Yeah.
doing all of the stuff. So I remember I had one apple, and then that was like one apple for a day. And
my
I'm coming
gosh.
back from like, we're going on foot and asking for any type of whatever like you can give us. Like we can mop the floors. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care. Like I
Yeah.
need to at least start. And rejection, no. Also girls, like guys could go and like lift heavy stuff
Sure.
and do
Yeah.
things like that, right? But they were saying no. So I remember coming home, I'm like, gonna have this amazing apple at least to eat because like we're exhausted. And it's gone.
Oh.
And I'm like, I gotta think of just one person. I'm like, Santiago. He's like, yeah. I'm like, did you eat my apple? And he goes, well, he's like a child of nature. He goes, this is not your apple.
Oh, God.
This is our apple because this is the fruit of the entire universe. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, I'm gonna punch you right now in your face, right? Like,
no, that was my fucking apple.
yeah, exactly. That was my apple, not like I bought it. Yeah. So, but what I figured, I started making connections, and I just like I don't even know how it happened, but like we went to some sort of a nightclub or whatever. We met a person who was a promoter, and promoters pretty much know everyone.
Yeah.
So I applied at one restaurant and they rejected me. We came back with him. His name is Stas, and same manager. He's like, okay, so but I basically came as to like a dance performance, like second time. So I showed them a couple of dances, and he's like, okay, great. We have also musician band, and they need like a dancer on the background, like for like ha 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 ha. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna hire you, and also we need a hostess, so you can. And I'm like, huh. I literally was here a week ago, and you said no. And he's like, I don't remember. I'm like, okay, I see how it works.
Yeah.
I see how it works. So that's how I got my first job. They also promoted me to waitress,
Nice.
which I said the only one thing I don't want to do is to serve seafood pasta. So it's weird. It's weird, but for some reason at that restaurant, in any Russian restaurant, you serve like the dish on the plate. And I'm like, well, they're not kids. They can do this. Like, why do I need to serve them on the plate?
Oh, you mean like, what do you mean? Like serve
Yes.
them
So
on the
let's say I
plate?
have a big plate with seafood pasta, right,
Okay.
or whatever it is. So I go around the table
like, serve them,
yes,
like,
and serve,
okay.
and I ask, would you like this? Would you like that? And like I put this. So
Okay.
and I was like, okay, I can do this. It's pretty easy. No seafood pasta, and they're like, okay, we got it. Here you go. Seafood comes.
But why?
Because I knew I'm gonna drop it. You need to
That's a
specific-
self-limiting belief.
and I manifested it. I tell you this because it's a spaghetti.
Yeah.
So you have to have the fork and the spoon in a way where you can grab it.
Yeah.
Like whatever,
Well, hold
twist
on,
it.
but why seafood pasta? Like, what about just regular pasta?
They only had seafood
Oh,
pasta.
okay. So just,
No pasta.
okay.
Pretty much no
Okay.
spaghetti. That's what I meant. No
Okay.
spaghetti.
Okay,
No
okay,
spaghetti.
no
No
pasta.
No
Okay.
crazy noodles.
No,
yeah.
no,
Okay.
yes. So here you go. Seafood pasta comes, and they like, Julia, and I'm like, I told you I'm not doing that. They're like, well, everybody's busy. I'm like, all right, you ask for it. And this is like I don't know. She was probably like 65 years old, like a grandma, very nice. And I'm like, do you like? I'm like, please say no, please say no. I'm like, would you like seafood pasta? She's like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, all right, let's get it out. So I'm picking it up, and yeah, it drops right on her lap, like pasta. And I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, I told you, that's gonna happen. It was so stressful. They gave me the worst table. So the lady.
You're very nervous about the pasta.
Yes, and it happened. I mean,
Yeah.
if anybody wants to like think about like manifesting negative, like
Uh-huh.
number 18 could do
Yeah.
this, right? Like, yeah, I manifested dropping it on, and she was like, oh, it's okay, don't worry. She was very like, but usually, absolutely, imagine you have like this beautiful dress,
for sure.
and the waitress drops freaking seafood pasta. No
What kind
good.
of seafood? What kind of seafood?
I
Just
don't.
like-
It's
Fruit of the
usually yeah,
That's
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
I want to fast forward because we're
Yeah,
well
let's
into
go.
this. So let's get to you being involved with the gym, being a personal trainer, and kind of like your story of manifesting the Arnold.
Yeah. Okay. So I knew that somehow I want to work with people, and basically that's what I was doing and help people.
And you're an athlete at that point.
Yes, yes. And I actually always wanted to buy skinny jeans.
Okay.
That was my why I got fit. I'm gonna tell you this. Whatever works. So I started just like I'm like, okay. I looked in the mirror and I'm like, I really don't like what I see. I need to change something. And I started just YouTube videos. At that point, wasn't really a lot of them.
Yeah.
But I was studying this and I was pretty
So what
good
year
at.
is this, like roughly?
I think 2014,
Okay.
2013 probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I think 2013 because 2014 was my first competition.
Okay.
So it's like a year apart. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, I like it. I'm gonna become a personal trainer. I obtained ISSA certification, and I started working with people. And then one of my friends, she's like, Julia, you should compete. And why? Because I really was so busy. I had 2 jobs, bartending, personal training, and I also was studying ESL because I wanted to go to college and I need to study ESL, otherwise I couldn't get anywhere. So I also was going to Long Island City. No, it wasn't Long Island City. It was downtown Brooklyn. And then I had to go back. So I literally had no time to eat. So I kind of was ready for a stage. And she's like, you need to compete. And I was at first when I started, my ex-husband, he actually, so squats, deadlifts, everything heavy, bodybuilding style.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bikini? Ugh. I'm like, bikini is not sport. Like I'm a bodybuilder. I'm a real bodybuilder. Bikini?
Really?
Yeah, that's...
You wanted to be like bodybuilder.
No, I was just like, I didn't
Okay.
want, because
Yeah.
I think I had the belief because I saw her prepping, so she was doing like crazy amount of reps, like 30, 40. And I'm like,
Oh
I don't
my
want to do
gosh.
this. I'd rather squat heavy.
Yeah.
I'd rather do that. But I was kind of, and she's like, you should compete. I'm like, okay, me on stage in bikini? Pff, no. And she's like, yeah, let's go. Like, you're already ready. And pretty much I took 4 weeks. My first competition, my first prep was 4 weeks. Didn't know anything.
Wow.
I asked her a couple questions. I just studied it online, like the water dropping, like the prep for, and I was pretty.
You had to be pretty much stage ready. at
Yes,
that
I
point.
was
Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
I was very lean. Like
Okay.
first time in my life, and I remember my trainer who said, "You're never gonna be lean and fit." I'm like,
Yeah,
ha ha ha. You see?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I made my bikini suit literally night before.
You made it?
Yeah, I made it.
Very
I,
cool.
I made them all, but it's fun because I was dancing, so we actually were like sewing our own costumes and stuff.
Sweet.
And I am like, oh, that's bikini. Like bikini, it's quite expensive. At that time, it was like 150, 200,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
was like, And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I can do this. So I couldn't figure out the bottom because it has like the scrunchy.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm like, I kind of cut something, put it on top of my already existed bikini, put the scrunchie behind, put a lot of rhinestones, and I'm like, I'm ready. That's it. Let's go.
I'm gonna
love
guess it
it.
was fine.
Yeah, I took second place. It was the first, and I picked competition. I didn't know that. It was just like, okay, next one, Metropolitan, New York City. That's the first biggest competition in opening season, And I'm like, I picked the biggest one, and I took second place. And I remember staying there. I'm like,
Amazing.
second? Oh my god! Like I was there, and I'm like, what am I doing here? Well, actually, it happened on each competition, even Arnold's. I'm like, look at those girls, they're so cool. I'm like, But and I loved it. I loved the rush, I guess. I loved the stage. It was easy for me to, and then I started also like training people for posing because I'm a dancer. So for
Yeah.
me,
You had that
stage
down.
move, it was very easy, like present, like presentation on stage. Yeah,
Okay.
and that's how I started.
Okay, so then how do you make the transition to the Arnold? And then I know that you had like a very clear manifestation story where
Yes.
you visualized
Yeah.
it. So
It's
tell us
which
that.
is I think I have like a YouTube video that I filmed like 4 years ago,
Okay.
and I was crying there telling the story. But it's not as bad right now. I mean, it's not bad at all. So I had the dream. Obviously, you have a dream to kind of evolve into what you do. And Arnold, it was my like, oh my, I couldn't even dream of it because I'm like, oh, it's too far for me.
And for those people that don't know, if you're listening, what is it? The Olympia is like the top pinnacle.
And Arnold would be,
Arnold would be in the bodybuilding bikini fitness competition world. The Olympia is like number one, and then Arnold is like the clear number two in terms of like prestige of the event.
Yeah, I mean, he started basically like the competition started with him. Like he created this for like bodybuilders, and then bikini came onto stage. So I was actually divorcing or separating at that moment with my ex-husband, and I needed something to replace my pain.
He was also in like the fitness world.
Yes,
well,
so
right?
he was also a trainer. And I'm like, I was in such a bad mental state because obviously all my limiting beliefs rushed through this because I guess in Belarus I also grew up seeing how women especially like they are not happy but they stay in marriage because they say, well, at least he's not beating you up, like who cares that he doesn't love you or who doesn't respect you, at least he's not like drinking, like this at least. So like let's compare it to like the middle,
could
like
be
the
worse.
low.
Yeah,
Exactly. So I believe that I have to save marriage. I have to and when it just literally fall apart, I'm like I'm to blame, like I'm the reason, like, and it was so bad that I just I'm actually gonna go and like do something for myself. And that dream, because my ex-husband was always like, you should stop it, you're never gonna achieve any like big place in bikini because like your body basically is not a bikini. Like that was quite.
You have a lot of people just like
for sure, really putting you down.
I don't know, putting you down regularly throughout the story.
It's funny, that's true. So I started.
And you're proving them wrong every step of the way.
Exactly.
That's what's
Yeah. So I started my prep. It was quite tough because it was so I started prep in November, and that's where in Brooklyn the weather is getting very worse. Like it's rain and then snow. I didn't care. I was like wet, just doing like rain is pouring everywhere, and I'm like doing my cardio, waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning because I also had business that we went with my ex-husband, and he's just like drop it, so I had to stay there with all like other partners. So 4 a.m. in the morning, waking up, going to Manhattan, training, making sure my meals are on point, then working, within my own business pretty much, going back, training my clients. I was also in college at that point, so I had to do all of that stuff. So I became such a robot. I had nothing but this. Like
tunnel
this
vision.
Yes. I'm like, I'm getting there. But I also remember probably each day of that prep because it was so important to me. The struggle was real.
That's also the American dream, working your ass off nonstop.
I mean, that's how I thought. That's how I used to be. But
that's how I still am.
And I'm trying to shift more on like attracting. But it's hard. So, but then I didn't know anything about manifestation. I didn't know, like, I guess from like very little age, I just believed that I kind of envisioned certain things and they happened. So I was going in bed. I had a cat at that point, so she was laying on my chest because like that's where I felt like pain, and I was closing my eyes and I was literally forcing myself to like not shift to anything else, but the way I'm stepping on the stage and I'm like taking this prize, and they say like first place goes to, and every morning, it was every morning, like every night, literally every training, it was so hard, but I'm like, go back to the picture, see yourself there. So I got sick 4 days out or 5 days out, to the point where, by the way, it's for anyone who's competing, if you feel that, my coach at that point said, drink 3 gallons of water. And I'm like, all right, I'll try. I'm drinking, and I remember, you can drown, right? You can drink a lot of water, you can actually die.
Sure.
Yeah. And I remember I'm sitting, and my it's almost like I feel like my skin just coming off my bones, like the way like it was filling up with the water. And I texted my coach. I'm like, hey, I don't think I can drink, or I should drink that much water because I already feel like I'm gonna just die. He's like, do whatever it takes. And I'm like, you know what?
Gosh.
F you, I'm not gonna do this. I dropped the water. It actually, like, I felt better.
Okay.
Got sick. I remember, like, being on Instagram saying, like, crying, saying, oh my God, this is my dream. Please.
Sick how? Like with what specifically?
I think my immune system just gave up at one
Yeah.
point. So I was like sore throat, like I couldn't lift my head off.
It's what's so crazy, and again, like for people who don't know, is like the way that people look on stage. I mean, I'm sure there's some people that think it looks crazy, which like
Yeah.
it does often, right? But it also is actually, if you just wanted to like shred somebody's skin off, that's also, it's that impressive.
Yeah.
What is also happening, but it's incredibly unhealthy. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Sure.
It's very
lifestyle.
unhealthy. It's very unhealthy.
But-
It also creates a lot of like bad relationship with food.
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of eating
And it
disorders.
puts you into like, it puts your body into like scarcity mode. It puts your mind
Oh,
into
yeah.
like
Oh,
true
yeah.
fear, like
Did you see
survival
how-
mode. You're starving yourself in a lot
Yeah.
of ways.
Did you see how like usually girls or even bodybuilders they gain like 20 plus
Yeah.
pounds
Oh, yeah, for
afterwards,
sure.
or even more? And I'm like, I always stayed within 5 to 10 pounds. I didn't go higher. But sometimes you look at the girl and like, wow, do you even squat? You know, do you even squat?
I'll tell my story really quick because I got on stage. I was 175. I'm like 200 right now. But I was 175 when I got on stage, and then by that Tuesday morning, I had like went out that night.
Oh my God.
TGI
You
Fridays
were-
was the only thing that was open, so we went to TGI
Yeah.
Fridays for like beer and like.
And you had like your first alcoholic drink at
Yeah.
like 21 and a half because
Yeah.
you didn't drink before your because of prep.
And then like went to a diner the next day. I ate like an entire breakfast. I think I ate like an entire.
Oh my! I think you had
pizza
like a
and,
Sunday
sub.
at breakfast.
Yeah.
I was like,
I like ate like nonstop for like 3 days. So again, stepped on stage on Saturday at 175, and then on Tuesday morning I was 215.
he had a lot of blow.
Food and water was like I was like, couldn't even move. I like looks like I don't know. Like
Yeah, I don't know.
snowman.
I had a lot of friends, bodybuilders, and like we would go after the show all together, and like the amount of I'm like, where is it going?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I would probably already die from what you had.
But your metabolism's also like shot
It's
at
very-
that
yeah.
point. So like
Yeah.
you're eating all
Oh
that
my
because you're so
God.
hungry, but your body's like not
Yeah.
processing it. So it
Yeah,
just like
it's like overcompensation. You
backs
just like
up.
Yes.
runs. Yeah.
Sorry, but go.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so like couple days, and I was just praying. I remember doing cardio, looking like green elf, whatever. Like everything was
you
so
look like
bad.
that. Yep.
But I'm like, I'm doing it. This is my dream. And don't try to repeat that, please, without like supervision. Anyway, so and I remember waking up in the morning and I feel great, and I'm like, let's go. I jumped into my car because I was driving to Ohio. I drove to Ohio. Now, mind you, I have to eat, stop, wait 30 minutes, take pictures, send it to my coach because he was like filling me up or
Yep.
you know, so I'm like, okay, cool, that's awesome. Like driving, eating, watching Supernatural, like whatever I was doing, like I'm just okay, no, I'm getting there. So I checked in, you know, next morning. The way Arnold goes, it has it's like a very interesting, like I don't know why they do this, but they have prejudging on Thursday and finals on Saturday.
Oh, I
so you
didn't
have
know
to
that.
pick twice.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Huh.
Yeah. So prejudging, I remember like seeing all these girls, obviously like everything just kicked in, and I'm like, oh my God, look at them. Oh, I also remember we only had 25 pound dumbbells to like, you know, pump up, and I'm like, okay, 25 pounds, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
Like what exactly, you know, like just for a pump.
Yeah.
Anyway, so went on stage. I didn't even see where they put me because I was so like in the, I don't know,
Yeah.
I was in a different reality.
Yeah, definitely.
So and they show prejudging on TV. So my coach's wife, she texted me, she's like, Julia, you're in the middle. And middle means first,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I'm like, oh, but also there was another girl, and sometimes they took middle, they took first, not to the left, but to the right. And I thought she's gonna take first because she was, I mean, more muscular than me, I would say. Probably like more like dense.
Okay.
And I'm like, all right. So I went home, you know, like you can't really eat anything. He's like, just do whatever you want, but like just, so you need to prep one more time. Saturday comes. It's cold. Amazingly cold. It's like Ohio, you know. They take us like behind the stage. you're already shaking. And we were waiting there, and I'm like, can I just leave? I just don't even want to go on stage, because we were doing push-ups challenges over there. It was so crazy. So basically, finals they don't do, like, I think we just post like a one pose, and that's it. So they line us up, and they start like, and the place number 5 goes blah 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 blah. Da, da, da. So, and he goes, and the first place goes, and I don't know why, but I skipped the second place. So I was not there. Maybe I saw that the girl that I think.
Well, first off, you're like sick.
Yeah.
You haven't eaten.
Yeah,
probably in,
exactly.
like, a week.
Yeah.
And you're on
freezing
stage at
cold on
Arnold.
stage. You're probably
Yeah.
delusional.
Yeah.
And you're also like, your adrenaline is like.
It's
absolute peak.
So, and then I see like she's there. She's already like lined up, and I'm like, oh, wait a second. I didn't place at all? Like, that's what I did.
Wow.
And and I'm like, oh, okay, well, whatever. I'm at least like first 5. It's cool. And they like in the first place, and of course they just pronounce my entire name and last name very wrong. And I'm like standing there, and I'm like, number, I don't know, I think it was, I don't remember the number, I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, oh my God. And then I hear my friend screaming, like she's like, ah! And they're like, oh, I'm like, oh my God, it's me. Oh, I'm like, oh, my first place,
Incredible.
But when I ended up there, I'm like, it feels so familiar.
Yeah.
Like, I already know how it feels. Like,
That's
it
so
wasn't
cool.
really that much of a surprise, but I'm like, okay, yeah.
That's what manifestation is.
I'll take that.
You put it out in the universe through your
Absolutely.
through your words and through your like brain waves enough that like it literally you were there already. You
Yeah.
had
Yeah,
been
you
there
visualized
countless
it. Yeah.
times every single
Yeah.
day that you were waking up in the morning and picturing it, and then you get there and you're like, oh yeah, this was supposed to happen all along.
Yeah, I think,
There was no other way it could happen.
I also visualized who I'm going to call, what I'm going to say, what I'm going to post on my Instagram. Like, I really literally envisioned everything, how I'm going to feel.
Yeah.
I literally try to like, what it would mean for me if I win, So I think that's important when people say manifestation. You literally just attracting it, you're creating that possibility for you, and your brain just takes on tasks. Like, okay, what do I need to do for it? Like calculating stuff.
Did you practice manifestation before Arnold with anything? So that was your first time, like
I didn't even know
Okay,
that
so
is
that was your first,
manifestation.
like, okay.
Yeah, I didn't even know what's word manifestation. I didn't even know that word.
Yeah.
Put it this way, like only later, like 4 years later, I started reading Joe Dispenza, and I'm like, oh, so okay, I think I'm manifesting a lot, in my life. Yeah.
I feel like that has been
sure.
kind of like my story. I feel like I've been manifesting things my whole life, and I didn't even know I was manifesting it. And then I just like realized, oh, that thing that I've been doing, that's been leading to really good results.
Yeah.
And now I just make that part of my like regular process and
Yeah.
habits.
Yeah, like
So-
you did it. Sorry, like you did it. Like when you were younger, you're like, I don't see myself here. Like this
Yeah.
is not my future. I see myself in the States. Like you manifested yourself
Yeah.
to move to the United
Yeah.
States. Like it's
But
really
just the same way that you manifested spilling pasta.
exactly.
I mean, you can manifest. Yeah, you can. But like I think a lot of people it's easy to concentrate on negative just because your brain very good at predicting and just like not letting you be hurt or like into some sort of a bad situations, so like it's easy to think about that, but you can at the same point you can think of like my teacher, high mathematics, I had a lot of that. She's like, what is the possibility that you see the like dinosaur, what do you
Dinosaur?
Okay, dinosaur on Broadway, and we're like 0. She's like 50-50. Your theory of like possibility, right? It's 50-50. So I still remember like thinking about her words, because like it's 50-50.
Yeah.
It's if you put more into positive, that's going to be more percentage that you're going to benefit that. But most people they just concentrate on negative.
Of course,
And
yeah.
like to your point, your brain is a prediction machine. Like that's what it's supposed to do. That's what it's there for, is to predict the next thing that's going to happen to protect you.
Yeah.
So it predicts what's going to happen. It usually predicts and like focuses on the worst case scenario so that you are protecting yourself and doing the more secure thing, like maybe staying in Belarus versus moving to the United States. Or maybe like saying, well, my ex-husband said that I should never step on stage because I don't have that body, so I don't want to embarrass myself.
Yeah.
Versus like going like, no, like I actually can accomplish that. It's just a matter of like doing the right
Yeah.
things, thinking the right things, believing the right things.
Yeah.
Or like at the same time, again, like going back to the pasta thing, it's like I don't want to serve the seafood pasta because I'm gonna spill it, and then as soon as you have the opportunity to serve it up, what happens? You spill
But you
it.
know what's funny? I knew I'm gonna spill it.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I didn't have the second choice at that point. I didn't
Yeah.
think I'm gonna do it because I tried and I see that like I can't do this. So I literally told them I knew that's gonna happen, and I warned you,
Yeah.
and they didn't listen to me.
But let's talk about how that. So, because what I want to get into what you do now.
Yeah.
And then how that relates to you, and then get into the retreat. So let's talk about like very clearly what you do right now as a life coach. I want to hear about like the neurographics. I want to know about the what is it?
Numeric psychology, yeah.
Numeric psychology. I don't want to say numerology. I know it's not
It,
numerology.
it's yeah.
Similar, but it's
It's a base, obviously, yeah. So just to kind of like make the story short, I guess
and we
20.
can go over, by the way, so
Yeah.
it's not a huge deal.
Okay.
Take a little while.
I guess like 20. So because I was working hard and hustling in New York and just doing all these things and not giving myself a proper rest, obviously very difficult divorce, separation, starting like new thing, taking the cat, like whatever. And I think at the one point before COVID, I found out that I kind of disconnected from myself. Like I stopped seeing the future, and like for people, it's just like envisioning, having that, creative flow in your head when you're like, oh, I like this, I'm gonna go this way, right?
Yeah.
So at one point, I just realized that kind of my soul left my body, and I'm just doing robotic stuff over and over and over again, and then I'm like. I see my dreams and it's like open up the gym and I'm like I don't want to open up any dreams, like I don't want to do this, like this is not my dream, like where did it come from?
Yeah.
So COVID hit. I finally was able to just because like in Brooklyn I had a lot of clients and they were like my family. Any person, any one of my clients is like my family. So I'm like I have to move. I moved to South Carolina, went through some spiritual journey. Obviously, like meditated the entire year. I did ayahuasca, I did mushrooms, what have you. And I realized that I just burned out to the point where I don't want to pursue, I don't want to develop or evolve anymore in fitness coaching. Like I still do it, but like if people reach out, I'll do it, right?
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm advertising it myself
Yeah.
as that, because it's still a big part of my life,
Sure.
And I'm like, I want to do something else. So, what they say, you need to ask like what you do the best, like and I pretty much just like reflected on my entire life. It's always been some sort of a help, support to people, feeding homeless dogs, people, just like being there for my friends, good listener. And I'm like, so what is this? I'm like, I didn't know about life coaching at that time. Sure. I didn't know what it is. Like, I'm like, well, I don't even know. So, and then I start researching and I'm like, oh, coach, life coach. I'm like, cool. Because I was thinking about going to like psychiatry and, psychology school. But then I'm like, I want to be more, because I'm more, let's talk about future now, how we can, utilize this and, make that change for you instead of let's go to the past and let's figure it out, like what's triggering, it's different.
Sure.
It all has place, but I didn't want to do this. So, and I just drop everything, my website, 200 plus videos like for fitness and all my clients. I'm like, I have to stop it because like if I can't just start something where my entire focus is right there. Yeah, and that's how I actually, each tool that I have right now for my coaching kind of came to my life because I needed something as well. Like I guess it's just when you're on autopilot, it's fine. But when you finally stop, because when you're in stress, there's not a lot of feelings you will allow yourself.
Yeah.
Because you need to survive, and you think it's good, you think it's great. But when you actually stop, that's where all it flashes up, like all the feelings, everything that I was suppressing. So I'm like, ooh, before I do coaching.
You're just distracting yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
I gotta do something for myself to like break up. I didn't do you think I lived through it? No. I met another guy, and not on purpose. I actually thought I want to become a lesbian at one point. And then I just met another guy, and I ended up being a 5-year long relationship, so I didn't even process grief, like in my, I went to bodybuilding, competing. So I'm like everything, but not to feel that, and then when I decided that I want to help people, I'm like, but I can't help people from the empty cup. Like I need to learn something.
Yeah.
And I also realized, because I was already studying, I was reading, I was in college, a lot of psychology, because obviously that was my area of interest. I realized I have blocks, limiting beliefs, whatever you call it, right? Because I think this way, I feel this way. But I'm pretty much sure I can think a different way, but because of my experience, whatever, I have that pattern in my brain, and it just runs circles. So my psychologist at that time, she said, do you want to try neurographics? And I'm like, sounds cool. What is this? And she's like, blah, blah, blah. You can go and Google it and see this. She gave me a couple of resources, and I'm a nerd. I'm going to go right in, study everything. And I'm like, okay, cool, let's go. So we did first session, and my first session was easy. I was like, I don't want to feel like I have to work very hard to be successful. Like, I don't want to do this because I'm burning out. Like I'm already doing it on a 0.1 percent of my willpower. And she's like, okay, let's go. So we did the first session, and I forgot about it. Next day I'm like, okay, I'm feeling actually good. I don't need coffee. I don't need a nap. And I'm all energized, and I'm doing stuff. I'm researching for life coaching. So and then I saw my drawing, and I'm like, oh wow. I'm like, it really changed the way I feel, because what it does is just, it takes the pressure and a lot of when we have limiting belief, it's a lot of emotions, a lot of pressure around that. So the first thing that you need to change that, you need to take that off. You need to feel neutral about it, and just to kind of
not feel one way or the other about it.
Yes. So that's what happened, and I'm like, I want to become neurographic instructor, and it's a whole year.
And I want to just explain really quick, because we did the neurographics. You led us through a neurographic session a few months ago, and it was certainly my first time. I went into it thinking that you were going to give me a set of directions. It started with draw a star, and then you gave me my numbers, and I put my numbers around, and then I was putting all my dreams and goals around it, and then I'm drawing lines, and you're kind of I'm expecting you're going to tell me all these step-by-steps of what I should draw, and then I'm going to hand it over to you.
And you're going to
read
it, decode it.
And you're going to go, you got mommy issues. You're incredibly insecure when it comes to this, that, or the other thing. But it was not that at all. It was the point of it, and I totally whiffed on this while I was doing it, because I'm just okay, I'm going to do this. Oh, you're telling me to do this? All right, I'm just going to do exactly what you say. The point of it was to kind of get into a flow state, get meditative, and think about the things that you're kind of asking us and talking to us about throughout the process. And then I just had this thing at the end. I'm like, okay, tell me what this all means. You're you should have just kind of told yourself what it all means more or less.
That's what coaching is, right? That's
exactly,
because I can read it. I can sell and you're not the first person who did it. Believe me,
Sure.
Read my. I'm no, you read it.
Yeah.
What is it coaching is about me asking you, because you giving interpretations, you changing things that you maybe thought were this, and now with neurographics, the way why I loved it, because it's you go in the flow state. It's not so much of a logical thinking.
And that's what was fun about it. It was I was coloring, and I was when was the last time I colored? It's been a while, right? So that was kind of fun, and I like to do that kind of creative stuff. Meanwhile, you were doing it too.
I was
actually having some real breakthroughs.
Yeah, for sure. I was doing it, and I think I put I was under work, and I put time in a circle, and you're what does that mean? And I'm sitting there and coloring, and I'm well, just time. I feel I'm pulled in 1,000 directions. I don't have time for myself, and I started crying. I was what is happening? What is this? What did you sign me up for?
So
make me feel my emotions.
So you had some good
for sure
thoughts and breakthroughs and things while you were doing it, and then I talked to you later on about it, and I was it taught me that I'm just being I'm too focused on the outcome and not focused on the process. That's exactly what it was I was just getting it done to get to the end result and have you tell me what it meant, versus enjoying the moment,
Yeah.
taking my time with it, like being like just like letting my mind wander and enjoying the time. And I was like trying to just like finish it while you were like actually going through the way it was supposed
Yeah.
to be done. So I still got something out of it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just got it out of it like
I
in
think
a
you got more
different
even
way.
when you emailed me asking like all those things.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And I'm like, or I don't remember, was it over the text or something? And then you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I see
I was like,
that.
that was my problem.
Yeah.
And then you've talked in the past, and this will lead us into the retreat, about the numeric psychology. You did a course with
Yeah.
Julia over the last several months, which I said when we sat down for the neurographics,
yeah,
I said there's three things, and I've even said this on this podcast, there's three things that like, I'm not saying I don't believe in, I just didn't have enough like information to make a decision on. It was astrology, tarot cards, and numerology. I'm just like, maybe they're real, maybe they're not. I've found that more times than not, these like spiritual, like what people might call woo-woo things, like they actually do provide a lot of value, but those are ones I didn't have enough information to
May I
make
ask
a
you,
educated decision.
What is real?
It is whatever I believe it is. That's how
Okay.
I look at it.
Yeah,
Like yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
This is like what I coming from like more scientific background
Yeah.
with like all fitness, exercise science and nutrition. When I got introduced to numeric psychology, and it was also like okay, I needed that because I was
Yeah.
like
Sure.
really down. I'm like, I need some sort of a thing
Yeah.
that kind of will help me get up. And I'm like, I always loved it in a way, because who doesn't like to hear all beautiful
Yeah,
things
yeah.
about yourself? But this specific one showed me all my fuck ups. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's what,
Yeah.
And and then I asked myself, does it matter if I believe in it, if it's real, like what society says real? But if it works, what if it works for me? Why do I
Exactly.
need to like justify it, like,
Uh-huh.
in front of other people? Like, you don't believe in it, then it's not your thing.
Yep.
That's it.
and
Move on.
and I think like that is one of the things that I've grown to like become more and more in belief of, is like if it can provide you with some sort of value, which again like clearly
gosh,
it did,
yeah.
because when she started going through the course and she was reading things to me, whether like
Like post-course,
you're right, whether
yeah.
it's just like made up and just like thrown at you, it's really like what you make of it.
Uh-huh.
And it just so happened, I guess, like, or like maybe it is in the stars, maybe it is just like what you make of it, but the information that it provided to you about you and about like your habits and your beliefs and the way that you act was like a little too on point in some
really
ways,
was.
both in terms of the areas where you're great and the areas where you struggle.
Of course, yeah.
And like we've talked a couple
Yeah,
times
for
on this
sure.
podcast about it, so I would say like maybe give it a bridge version, and then let's talk about the retreat.
It helped me so much. Again, exactly what he said, like finding like what your positives are, like knowing like I have my warrior in there and my fighter and all of that, and that's all really good to have, but there's like the negatives of those, and not being willing to like really ever face those negatives. I'm like, no, well, I'm just a fighter, I'm a warrior, that's okay.
Yeah.
But like those negative sides of that are impactful, like to relationships and to myself. And so being able to have this as a tool to look inside yourself, if you're willing to, that's that big thing. I feel like it works for people who are willing to be like, okay, like, yeah, there is something kind of going on. I need to look into this. And I'm like so thankful for it. It really helped me so
Yeah.
much, and just like myself, my relationships, who I am in here. I have found that, and I just absolutely love it. And it's great. It
And-
really is.
And you have done an incredible job, and it's apparent just like knowing you, and obviously through the course that you went through as well, but just knowing you, like it seems like it's very apparent that you are here to be a coach.
Yeah.
Like you're great at it. It's just you, and you also are creative, and you like overflow with brilliant ideas and whether it's business ideas or ways to help your clients or new ways to like evolve what you've done with like neurographics and like even blending the two.
Yeah, that's
right?
exactly
Like, you've done a really
what,
cool job of
what
blending
we're
these
gonna
two.
do now. Retreat and like
Yeah.
the product that I'm kind of like. Also, my coaching, obviously, the client can come to me, and if they say like, oh, like, no, I'm okay without numerology, great, you know, like, but I still gonna look at like, because that just it's just it's analysis. It gives you a better
Yes.
understanding of it, like instead of just spending years on finding like whatever triggers you, because obviously and I think you need to be super aware, because like I've spent look how many years already being a coach, and you know, like I need to open up myself as well every time, you know, work through myself, even being so much aware and reflective on a lot of things. Like numeric psychology showed me things that I maybe was pushing away. Maybe I was like, you know what, no. But then when I saw it says, well, this, and this, and I started doing this, you know, and I literally saw how like within months my life also has changed.
Yeah.
You know, and then we started like talking about just like, hey, I'm like, I had this idea. So like it's also, you know, comes from numerology. I'm like, all right, my strong point might not super strong point. And I'm like, I believe that we are not competitors. Like we all, and I feel like just, you know, we're not fighting against each other. There are so many people that will be good with some people would be good with you, some people with me, you know, like that's why we have like that personality and like, you know, personal brand, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm like, I want to work with someone because not because I want Katelyn to keep me accountable. I can keep myself accountable, but just I want to have that, like, I don't know, like unity, like so kind of like because she brings her unique flow into the table. I have my unique flow, and that creates a better space for people, like and for the retreat that we're going to do. And it's just that's how it's like clicked all together.
I feel like our strong suits are probably very similar, and like that's why she's been a
good
great
balance,
partner for me, and I feel like she's a great partner for you in the same way, because it's like you're right, like I don't need anybody to keep me accountable, but that doesn't mean that you can't leverage somebody else's like complementary skills or qualities, right?
And like you have like the vision, you have this like thing you want to create. And it's like, okay, let's like, these are like here are steps to like get to that.
So let's take 10 minutes to talk about the retreat. When is it? What is it? What can people expect?
So it's Saturday, October 19th. And you like those numbers?
Yes, I love the numbers. So it's 19, which means sun, which means like, you know, if you think of so what numerology or numeric psychology, numerology has, we work with archetypes, and archetypes is something that our psyche, right, like understands from very early ages. We may not even be aware of it, but we develop first the understanding about things, and then the language developed, right? So archetypes is more like if I say, I don't know, the sun, you probably would have a clear understanding of what is the sun, right? It shines bright. It gives me, you know, light. It provides that warmness,
Not
right?
just everything it is, but everything it symbolizes as well.
Yes. So 19 is the sun, so it's a good like new beginning, right? 10 is the fortune, which is wheel of fortune, which is like, okay, so everything will be very easy to manifest on that day. And we're doing retreat as our like first run this time. It would be light. Because we discussed this, because first we don't want to harm anyone with the amount of information, and we want to start with something where people can, you know, take a like a look at what is the good side, the bad side, you know, like I don't want to say good or bad, positive, negative, whatever, like what is a wholeness, right? Give the neurographic perspective also in there, like unite that. And that's so basically the 10s, right? And 2024 is 8, and pretty much 8 is the number of karma. So we're kind of going to be like cleaning our karmas with starting something new. I think it's a very magical number.
So it's going to be about 10 to 15 women. We're sticking with women for the group. Sorry.
You can be our camera.
I'll be there shooting content, and if not, I'll be at the next one.
Yes, and it's going to be at a house here in Austin. So it's going to be a great day, and just helping people work through the positives, negatives, working through those blockers that they have, and providing them tools, feedback, having like small group discussions, and just creating a space that, because it's definitely vulnerable. It's a vulnerable space that you have to be in. So creating that space that they're going to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And walk away with it knowing like, okay, these are some things I can work on. And then we'll do a post like integration call, like 1 to 2 weeks after.
And we're gonna have, so pretty much the idea, the mission of it was, I remember doing like neurographics, and you just try very light versions. We can kind of go deep sometime. And one of my kind of bubbles and the dream was retreat, and I always wanted to do like retreats, but I think it also comes in the right place in the right time with right people. So it's not that I gave up on it, but I'm like, it's just not time yet, and I also had to kind of like fill my cup with energy because it's very like, I gotta like have that space also, like that's why I think we're doing it together as well. So like have that more of a powerful space, and to just be there, because we live in the world where people think that they like have to be alone, or they go along, like they're like lonely warriors, whatever, like. And I wanted to have that space for women to come, to open up, to see like, oh, wait a second, I'm not doomed to have this like, reality. I can change this and give them tools. Because also like let's say the product that I'm creating right now, I want to teach people how to self-coach themselves, how to ask those questions that will be any time, any circumstance, you can ask that question and have that mindset. So like retreat, hopefully, and we're going to manifest it again. We want to turn it into like a recurring thing that will be, growing and growing. And I see it as something that growing big. And just have that space. And we also thought that how we can give more value. Like, some retreats that it's just a retreat, and then you kind of have like post integration and like that's it. But we also wanted to create like a community. So we will create a group. We don't know where, Telegram or WhatsApp, somewhere there. So we want to have that ongoing support for women as well.
Cool. So the idea is like you have the various areas of your life. So there's, let's say, finances. There's
just personality, spirituality, finances, relationship, health. There's also soul mission. So like, and within all of that, like those areas, there's a main number, right? Like let's say date of birth, month of birth, and then the summary of like those. And there are also 2 more numbers which come from your ancestry, like your parents, obviously, because like you still, whether you believe it or not, you carry those genes.
Oh,
you
for
have
sure.
those programs, right?
Yep.
And then there's also a couple numbers. There are a couple numbers that show like your previous kind of manifestations, like previous incarnations. I don't know how to call it correctly, but like let's say my number, like the karmic mistake, right, is 12. And I need to. And so 12 means that in my previous life, and it's not the first time I'm hearing that, because I've done a lot of different sessions. I was kind of tyrannical. Like I was more of a bad person. So this life, or I was like 2 ways, or I was just real, like not doing anything. I'm not here, not with you. This life, my mission is to serve. It's 12. Number 12 is serving people. And that's pretty much, without even knowing that, I was like, and funny enough, when I was trying to even get, let's say, into the corporate job or whatever, oh my God, like the universe was sending me like so many obstacles. We're talking like a lot of like money loss, relationship, and I'm like, all right, got it, going back to what I was doing. Yes, and it's harsh. It's not like beep beep. No, it's like
And I have a friend who said, man, I don't know like why the universe is like kicking my ass. Like I'm like doing all the things that I'm supposed to be doing. I'm like, well, if the universe is kicking your ass when you're doing all the things that you think you're supposed to be doing, then you're not supposed to be doing those things. You need to like figure something else out.
Yeah, because the time is different right now. Like the time, if I think anybody, whether you're very close to, energy, or you just like, really more like on the scientific, like, pragmatic state of it, you will feel that somehow right now the time is way different. Things happen faster. Like all the time, like I asked my followers on IG, I'm like, hey, anyone is feeling this weird energy kind of drop like for a couple of days? Because like that's how like just all of a sudden, like, whoop. And people were like, yes, oh my God, what's happening? And then my friend sent me the reel. saying, like the guy was explaining that the time, changing, and I truly believe in it. I truly believe that, we're done playing games.
Yeah.
Like if you look around what's going on in the world,
Yeah.
I think the more people awakening, because the earth, like the planet, God, universe, needs us.
Yeah.
We need to be on our rightful places and lead, and be like, basically be within your mission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
what is your mission?
Be in
Like-
alignment.
Yeah.
I think like there's so much, I mean, just in the last few weeks, like a lot of really crazy, wild shit happening in the world, and like that's gonna jar a lot of shit loose in some people. It's gonna make them like more afraid, and they're gonna hunker down. They're gonna go more into like scarcity, secure, like lack mode, and then it's gonna jar a lot of people to go like, hey, like what is going on here? We need to like step up and make a difference and do something. We
Yeah.
can't just let this continue. And I feel like what I'm seeing from, especially like what you guys are doing, putting together here
Yeah.
now, is like a real good opportunity for people to, again, go like, I feel like I'm doing all the right things, but the universe isn't giving me all the things that I am hoping for. And it's like, well, maybe you don't have like the proper tools, or you don't have the right perspective,
Yep,
and
for
you're
sure.
gonna be able to like lay out their numbers for all those different components that you just mentioned. You're gonna be able to walk them through what it means
Yes.
in terms of like what their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, where they should focus their energy, and maybe like where they need to where there's area to improve. And then you're gonna walk them through that throughout the course of the day. Hopefully have some neurographics.
Yeah, we're gonna have neurographics. We're gonna have a little bit of meditation there.
Perfect.
We're gonna have obviously sharing circle, closing ceremony. Probably gonna have also either cacao or tea ceremony just to
Awesome.
kind of warm up. A lunch break. So we're gonna have some food. So pretty much it's
Yeah.
gonna be a very safe space to enjoy, and I think it's one of the best ways how you can spend your Saturday day.
Yeah, learning
also
about yourself.
learning about
Yeah.
yourself, and then also integrating it, because like, you learn a lot.
Yep.
But you have to take it in, like, and that's why we
That's the key.
decided to do the group after and still like give that support, because like even when you're so aware and you're a coach, right?
Yeah.
Even sometimes things could be very challenging
Sure.
and tough, because like what coach does, he reflects you, right? So like if you come to me and I'm coaching you, you talking, and I'm just picking up certain patterns and giving it back to you, so you're like, oh, I never thought of it, right? Or good question. That's one of the like indicators. But when you like by yourself, it's not that you're having that dialogue, like, oh, wait a second, good question. Oh, no, wait a second. So it's just kind of like the pattern that you kind of used to think is just going on. And that's why people like say, oh, I'm in the loop, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't get out, or I'm stuck, because there's just like error already. But you, in a way, feel that you need to get out, because the uncomfortable feeling that people have, right? Or they're like dissatisfaction. Because like,
Yeah.
what is this? Like, happiness is, I think it's just being satisfied with everything that's going on in your
Yeah.
life, and you're happy, right?
Being grateful.
Yeah,
Yep.
like dissatisfaction is basically, it's not because of someone, it's not because the rain, not because like somebody cut you off on the road. It's because it's just the trigger that boom fires
Yep,
up
for
those
sure.
things that already have
Yeah.
within you. You already have it, right? Because if you're satisfied with everything that's going, I don't care how many times somebody cuts me off, like in front of me, like on the road, I will say, hey, go. Like,
Yeah.
I will just, slow down. But if you have that, so that's just the indicator for people to like, all right, I gotta change something. And change, we're not talking about, from zero to hero. That's not very, I would say, safe for you as like, for your psychology, right? Change should be, and I've done the programs where I literally tested small little steps.
Yeah,
But
for
you
sure.
need to recognize it, you need to continue, and then you build new habit.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And then
You
you
know?
build on top of it and
Yes,
like learn
yes,
each step of the
yes,
way.
yes.
And it compounds over time.
Yeah.
And they're like exponential growth after
Yeah.
a while. All right, I think we have to wrap it up. Thank you very much for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Thank
It was
you.
fun.
For
Yeah, it was
sure.
really
Actually,
good.
it was
It's
first
excellent.
time for me. Well, not first, maybe second, where I'm not interviewing.
Okay.
And I'm being interviewed.
And how was
fun.
it?
It was fun.
Yeah,
good.
I love it. I need a couple more hours to kind of go.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. We got, so, I guess at this point, if somebody is interested, again, women only.
Yes,
women
women
are
only.
interested in joining the retreat.
Yes. Sorry, men. It's not that we don't love you. We just for now we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
I guess you want to say your like Instagram handle where people can
Yes,
find
so
you.
it's Julia_Das_. You can comment or DM me the word retreat, and I'm basically gonna see it, and I'm gonna give you all information. We usually prefer, and you can do the same with Katelyn. We usually prefer to just have a short, call with people just to make sure that it's gonna be correct.
Sure.
Because sometimes people do need that kind of psychiatric interference maybe in the beginning. I don't know, but I just want to make sure that it's a good fit and the person will get the best out of this. It's not our goal to like sell a retreat. It's like, we're doing it because we love it.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Like we want to actually be, serve and bring more goodness for people. So yeah, that's what we prefer. We're gonna probably put like the landing page very soon so people can also read about this. And yeah, my Instagram, Katelyn.
Yeah, at ATX Poozle.
And then I think there's going to be an early bird pricing, and then if you bring a friend, it's like a significant discount as well.
Yes. So we're pretty much discounting people who wants to be like who wants to bring BFF or something, because it's
Go with
it's
a
cool.
friend.
I think you could do a little bit,
And just
scary,
also
I
like your
guess.
relationship too. Like you kind of look at each other, like what you like how you're bringing yourself to your friendship.
Yeah.
That's like a
Yes.
cool little dynamic.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Cool. Well, it's been fun to watch you guys put it together. Again, thank you for joining us.
Thank
and
you.
Thank y'all for joining us. See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.